Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Welcome to the research class. Today's topic is on literature review. So literature review is very crucial to the writing of a research or thesis. So we want to know why we do literature review. Why is it important for us to do the literature review? There are several reasons why literature review is important. Number one, we want to examine whether there have been studies done on the subject. Has the work already been done on the subject? Number two, who are the experts in the field? What are the main theoretical perspectives? We want to check if there are studies, if there are previous studies done on this topic that you choose, then are there any theoretical perspectives? Some people call it theoretical framework. Some people call it conceptual framework. So the main important is, especially in the quantitative research, we want to see whether there have been theoretical perspectives on the topic. And then literature review is important because we could examine the research methods that have been used in studying the topic. And then the next reason is the problems. We want to do literature review because we want to know what are the main problems in researching the topic. Are there any major controversies in this topic area that you choose? Is the topic open to hypothesis testing? And is the topic a trivial one? So especially for PhD, the topic must be of great contribution to the knowledge. And it has to have the characteristics of novelty. Okay, let's look at one by one. We do literature review because we want to know if there have been studies done on the topic. If the topic has already been done, then you might think of whether changing the topic or changing the focus. In most research, it is very rare that a specific set of research questions or a specific hypothesis has already been addressed in your area. So for social research, even if there's been studies done on the topic, we could still change and modify the focus so that our research will be of importance and have certain novelty. Nevertheless, it's important to check that previous studies being published is not so close to yours. So if it is similar, then there is no point of doing the research. So your research and the previous studies must have significant differences. It cannot be similar. So the literature review will help us to identify whether there's been studies done on the topic. Number two, who are the experts in the field? So by doing literature review, you have to identify the experts or the authority in your field.
Doctor,
Yes,
can I interrupt?
sure, sure.
Since you are
Anytime.
recording, we cannot see your full face.
Oh, you need to click on top here.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see now?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's just recording. So I think I need to tell you.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see everybody now?
Yes. It's better.
We have Mr. Bala, Miss Faiza, Miss Nur Farhana. Farhana, you can turn on the video. Are you sleeping? Miss Farhana is a master student in Islamic banking and finance. Okay, can we continue? So the second reason we do literature review, we want to know what are the main theoretical perspectives. This is the third reason. So by doing literature review, we can identify the underpinning theory. We call underpinning theory, not underpinning, underpinning theory, which underline our theoretical framework of the study. This is very important if you are doing quantitative research. For quantitative research, Mr. Bala, you're doing quantitative research, right? So for quantitative research, it is very important that you start with a very solid theoretical framework. So in order to have strong and solid theoretical framework, you need to study previous studies done on the subject. For example, you get hold of a few journal articles, a few studies, or a few theses done on the subject, and check what are the theoretical framework that they have used. Uh, it could be thesis at PhD level or thesis at master's level. And thesis at PhD level is, of course, supposedly better than thesis at master's level. So that could be your point of reference in constructing your own theoretical framework. In order to do theoretical framework, you look at the framework which have been used by the previous studies, and you must adapt and adopt, meaning that especially at PhD level, you cannot simply copy and paste the theoretical framework and then do it in different place, for example. At PhD level, the theoretical framework that you construct must be different. In some ways, it must be different, and the reader could see your contribution in terms of new variables, maybe new variables that you want to include. Maybe you have a new IV, a new moderating variable, for example. So this is very important um, to review the studies done on your topic. And remember, the keyword is the studies done on your topic. So you have to really understand what your topic is. The easiest way to understand what your topic is by looking at the DV. DV will tell you and the readers about what you want to examine. Let me show you an example of a theoretical framework. Can you see the screen now? Compliance behavior of income zakat in Kedah.
No, sir, we cannot see.
Cannot see.
No.
Okay, how do this? Can you see now? Can you see now? Compliance.
Yeah.
This is a thesis on. This is a PhD thesis on compliance behavior of income zakat in Kedah. By looking at the topic, what is it? By looking at the topic, what is the DV here? Compliance behavior of income zakat in Kedah. So the DV here is compliance behavior. And there is a moderating variable called Islamic religiosity. So let's look at the framework. Can you see the framework now? Can you see the framework or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay, let's see. This is called the theory or theoretical framework of the study. So this is by looking at the theoretical perspective of previous studies, you'd be able to adapt and adopt and make it as your own framework. For example, this framework is adopted from Eisen, Kamil, Zainal, and Ram al-Jafri. So, which means the author did not create the theoretical framework out of nothing. The theoretical framework is based on the previous studies. In order to do that, that's why literature review is important. So this is the DV, compliance behavior. This is intention. Intention is a mediating variable. Islamic religiosity is a moderating variable. And we have 5 IV, independent variables: attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, and moral obligation. So in order to get your own theoretical framework, you need to have done a review on the previous studies, including previous thesis, previous research, and previous journals, journal articles. Any questions so far? Now let's go back to the reasons why we do literature review. Can you see now what are the common research methods in the topic? The fifth reason that you want to do literature review is you want to know what are the common research methods in the topic. So how do they do, how the previous research was done? How means the method. So is the published research in the topic that you choose mainly qualitative or quantitative? So you want to check. If qualitative, then what is the most common basis? What's the reason behind using the methods of qualitative? If quantitative, then what is the most common basis? And sometimes previous research use a mix of qualitative and quantitative methods. So that's why you want to see. Now remember, when you do literature review, just focus on previous studies on your topic. You don't waste your time looking at previous studies on other topics because you want to finish on time. You don't want to waste any time reading other materials um, because when you do a research, the research must be very focused and in terms of the topic, and you must be very clear of what your topic is. All right. Any questions so far? So you need to have a good literature review. Then you want to do literature review also because you want to know the main problems in researching the topic. Sometimes when the studies was done on a certain topic, there were some problems that they encountered. So what are the common problems in doing the studies on the topic? Are there any major controversies in the topic area? So is there any disagreement or controversies or inconclusive ways in terms of methodology, theory, and empirical evidence? So if there is if there are controversies, or for example, if there are inconclusive evidence, that is good for you because then you have gaps in your research. So gaps is very important. For example, if your IV is attitude, for example, and you review previous studies and you find out that all previous studies find that attitude is significant, then there is no controversy, there is no issue. Then if you still include attitude in your framework, then the examiner or your supervisor will ask you, why do you still want to study attitude? It has been proven by previous research that it is significant. What else do you want to know? So those are the common things. So it's very good if you find issues or controversies. For example, there are 100 studies which showed that attitude uh, had significant relationships with compliance behavior. However, there are 5 previous studies who uh, disagreed on the findings and found that attitude was not a significant factor. Then it's called controversies, and there is a gap that we still want to explore. So the more debates or controversies, the better, because then the research is fruitful. Fruitful means there are still many research that could be done in the topic. Okay. Next reason why we want to do literature review is we want to know if the topic open to hypothesis testing. This is especially important in quantitative research. You need to know if your hypothesis could be tested. And your hypothesis needs to be clear, unambiguous, focused, and testable using the accepted statistical method. Ahlan wa salam. Welcome, Cikgu Norma. And welcome, Mr. Hamza. Mr. Hamza, how are you? Can you hear us? Okay. The last reason why we want to do literature review is we want to find out if the topic is a trivial one or not. So your topic, especially at PhD level, must not be a trivial one. So meaning that your research must be of significance. And it is it has the potential to provide certain new empirical evidence which could be generalized to certain groups or certain industries or any other aggregation. So how do you know if your topic is trivial or not? Is your topic important? So the way to know is this is if there is not much studies on the topic, it is most likely that the topic is trivial. If there are voluminous studies on the topic, it's more likely that the topic is of significance and has the potential to be developed further. So it's good if you have if you found that there are many previous studies done on your topic. Okay, we are done with why. Why we want to do the literature review. Any question? Mr. Bala, how's everything? Are you okay? Have you done any of the literature review on your topic? Mr. Bala, can you hear me? Miss Faiza, have you done certain review of previous studies? Not yet. Okay. Any question? How do you get your literature? How do you find your literature? Mr. Bala, how do you get the literature, the previous work? How did you find them? You must unmute in order for us to hear. Unmute. Mr. Bala?
Yes, doctor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
So how did you find your literature?
So, Google it. Lot of books on my topics. So I printed, and then I went through that.
Using Google or Google Scholar? Is it Google or Google Scholar?
I just simply Google it. I didn't go for Google Scholar.
Okay. The better way is you go to Google Scholar.
Google Scholar, yeah.
Okay. Type, type Google Scholar and identify your research and the keywords in your research. Type any keywords related to your research, and then Google Scholar will give you the literature, whether it is journal articles or proceedings in PDF,
Yeah.
uh, or sometimes it doesn't provide in PDF. So if you cannot get the PDF from Google Scholar, then there are ways to get the PDF.
Yes.
Uh, Cikgu Norma, can you share with us? You unmute. Share with us how you get your literature review. How did you get many many journal articles?
Okay, Assalamualaikum and selamat petang. Okay, I get my literature review from articles from research engine. Our university, from our university we have
OC, right?
yeah, OC. We have research engine like ProQuest, like Sage, like Taylor and Francis, and all the research engines is Q1, Q1 until Q4 lah. This is a good article. So we read from them, and we have to actually we want if you want to write a good literature, we have to done we have to write the metrics, use the metric using metrics to write down the literature review, the good way to write the literature review. Okay.
Thank you for sharing. So the second way to get articles, articles is by going to e-library. Some universities provide good uh, e-library, meaning the e-library that they have contains lots and lots of articles and other materials. So you can check our library, Unisham. We have certain limitations, but you can check. Or you can check um, other library also. So the first thing to do literature review is you must compile, you must get access to journal articles using Google Scholar and e-library provided by respective universities. Okay, so once you get the literature, it's best that you download and you put in separate folders. It's up to you how you want to name your folders, right? So, for example, if you have 5 IVs, maybe you create 5 folders, and then one folder for your mediating, one folder for your moderating, and one folder for your dependent variables. So that it's easy for you to trace the articles according to the folders. Because at the end of your journey, you might have 400 or 500 articles. And like I said, it's best. It's not the only way, but I think it's one of the best ways is to use Mendeley. So I post in our Telegram how you can use Mendeley to start writing not only your literature review, but also the whole thesis. You can use Mendeley. The advantage of Mendeley is once you cite the previous studies, then Mendeley will write for you the bibliography. So you don't have to write reference on your own. Our friend Mendeley will write for us according to the format that we want. And here at Unishams, we use APA style to write a reference. So I will post in Telegram how to use Mendeley to write the literature review. Because it's quite difficult for me to show online how you use Mendeley. Anyway, has anybody downloaded Mendeley? Raise your hand. Mr. Bala. Okay, Faiza, you download Mendeley? Mr. Bala, have you downloaded Mendeley?
Not yet, not yet. No.
Not yet.
Sorry.
Cikgu Norma, you have Mendeley?
I use Mendeley since I'm doing my master.
Okay. Can you share with us how you use Mendeley? In brief, how
Mendeley.
you?
It's easy, and when I actually it's library here, cannot talk loud here.
Oh, okay.
But it's easy when you use Mendeley because all your article would be saved in Mendeley, even when your computer is breakdown or something virus, but all your article will be saved at Mendeley, and you don't have it's easy to use. You don't have to write the bibliography. Then Mendeley will help you to wait for you.
Okay, this is an example of Mendeley. Can you see? Can you see Mendeley now?
Yes.
Can you see or not? Yeah, I'm sharing Mendeley now. Do you see Mendeley here? Mendeley desktop.
Yes.
Can you see or not?
And
Okay. After you download, then this is called the Mendeley. You click on the icon and it will appear like this. If you are the first time user, all this left side will be empty. There's nothing here, no folders. Okay? And this side, the big screen here shows all the articles in all your folders. So for example, my folder, can you see or not? The last side here, the first one, it says Mendeley, and then here literature search, very small. Can you see or not?
Doctor, we cannot see that.
This one you cannot see. Yeah?
It is stuck in the last screen.
Okay, I'll try to share again. Okay, I'll share again. Can you see now? The top left is is literature search. Can you see? And then my library, all documents, recently added, recently read, favorites, my publication, and the rest are folders here that you create on your own. These are my folders: Attitude, Cash Wakaf, CB, CB2, CB Zakat, etc. These are the folders that you have to create. If you are the first time user, you'll have nothing. There's nothing here and nothing here. How do you get started is you might want to first create folder. You click file. The easiest way is click file and then you say add folder. Okay.
Total, we cannot see it. Sorry.
You cannot see.
Huh.
Can you see Mendeley? What do you see on your screen?
The shortcut.
The earlier,
Oh,
the earlier,
the earlier one.
earlier one.
Yes.
Okay, let me try again. Share screen. Then Mendeley. Can you see now?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. On the left, top left is called My Library.
All documents, yeah.
All documents means all the files that you, import into Mendeley, and then you'll have nothing here. These are the folders that you need to create. Okay. So I will show you how to create folder. The easiest way is you click file, and then here add folder. So you click add folder. Okay. That's one way. The easier way is you see the folder sign here. It's called folders. And then folder plus. You click here. So you can create folder and rename folder, new folder. So you rename it. For example, you say, for today, I will say testing. Okay. And then you click on that one. You click on that one. So new folder that I create is called testing. Let's try again. There is create folder here. You want to say new folder. Then you just start testing. Then what happens? You click here. So the folder is called testing. So first you need to create folder. If you don't create folder, suppose you are lazy, you don't want to create folder, it's still okay. All your files will appear in the folder called all documents. All your files will be in one folder called all documents. But if you have many articles, then you will get lost because there are many documents. Now, how do you want to add the file? Okay, the easiest way is you click add file here, add file. Okay, add file. Then what happens is you want to know, Mendeley will ask you where are the files? So you need to create the folder in desktop. So I want to search, for example, in desktop. Okay. So suppose my articles are in this folder called books. Okay. So you just click on the folders, click on the file, and whatever files you want to put in Mendeley, then you say open. You click open. Okay. Now what happens is all the books are added to this one. Okay. So it's just added today, 28. Oh, okay.
Yes.
So this one is just added. Okay. So suppose you want to start writing your literature review. What you should do is, okay, now you want to open your file, your thesis file. Suppose this is your file or your thesis. Okay, this is your thesis. Okay, it's still empty. So you want to write on literature review, chapter 3, literature review. I will quickly show you how to use Mendeley. So suppose you want to write a literature review on something. Okay, so you open Mendeley and you read one of the files that you just included. Suppose this is the file. Okay, so this is, I double click on this file and this, it appears like this. On your right hand are the particulars about your file. So the name of the file is Islamic Finance in the Global Economy. This is a book. This is not journal article, this is the book. So you just have to create, make adjustment. Type is book. This is the name. And this, suppose this is the author. Suppose the rest are correct. All right. Then you want to read the book. Okay. So suppose you read the book and you find something which you want to cite. All right. So go back to your chapter on literature review. So you say, for example, that the book says that Islamic finance, for example, just for example, after reading the book, so you say Islamic finance is becoming very important in today's world. Okay. Can you see? Can you see or not? And then you want to cite. All right. You want to cite. You need to go to reference. Click on reference. Click on insert citation, and then go to Mendeley. All right. And who says that? Okay. This guy says. Okay, the one that we just cited. So you click on the one that you just read. I think just for example, this one. In this book, it says that Islamic finance is very important in today's world. Then you click here, on top here, it says site. Very small. Can you see or not? I click site. Yeah. It's quite difficult to show online. Eh? So now the author and the year it was published appears. Okay. You want to go to your last page. The last page of your thesis is reference. Okay. Go to your reference and then you tell Mendeley, okay, insert bibliography. Okay, click on insert bibliography. There, it appears. Mendeley just wrote for you the reference. And then suppose you want to write another book or another article. Okay, and then you say, compared to conventional finance, Islamic finance is more complicated and difficult to be understood. For example, there is article which says that Islamic finance is more complicated and more difficult to be understood. Who says that? Okay. Suppose, just example, suppose this guy says that. All right. Okay. This guy says, so you want to cite, so you go back to your thesis, and then you say insert citation. Okay. Click Mendeley, go to Mendeley, and then you click on the article or the book that you just read, and click cite. Okay, now it says Warder, the name of the author, and the year is 2010. And magic, Mendeley write for you, Warder 2010. So you don't need to write your reference. Okay, any question on Mendeley? You need to try yourself. I cannot show it to you. It's more difficult to show to you online, right? So if face to face, maybe I can guide you better. But now you need to try and use Mendeley to write your literature review. Fatin Fareha, Madam Fatin Fareha, are you okay?
Yeah, Doctor, I'm here.
Any question? We are discussing literature review. Any question you may ask?
Okay. No question, Doctor.
Oh, if you don't have question, that means you understand everything.
Not all. I just can see here what you show to us. Okay. And then I am try to learn one by one again.
Okay, good. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask. Yes.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Yusuf.
Wa alaikum salam, Mr. Hamza. How are you?
Yes, Doctor. I'm fine. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. How's the situation in Uganda?
Alhamdulillah, we are fine. Just 2 days back, we reported our first death, COVID death. We didn't have any, but we have one from the database of 1,000 plus. But Alhamdulillah, we are fine.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah.
Yes, I was just asking
Yes.
if
Yes.
we shall have notes on the notes of research methods.
Yes, I put up lots of notes in Telegram, MQR7213. Have you joined the Telegram? MQR7213.
I've joined the WhatsApp group.
Oh, you need to join,
WhatsApp group.
the Telegram, and I will share lots of videos and materials in the Telegram.
Okay.
Yeah, I will invite you now.
Okay. Thank you.
Faiza, can you invite participants to join Telegram? Invite them in our WhatsApp group.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Hamza, you are in WhatsApp group. You will get the
Yes.
link. You will get the link
Okay.
to
Okay.
our Instagram. You
Okay.
join Instagram first, and then I will reload the material for you.
Inshallah.
The Telegram is very useful because you can put up almost everything, the videos, the materials. Whereas in WhatsApp group, you can only post the file in Word or PDF. The videos cannot because the memory is low. So I'm sharing lots of videos on research. You can watch the videos on literature review, the difference between quantitative and qualitative research, how to write literature review, how to write research proposal, and population and sampling. And please enjoy the video. And then you can ask me any questions in the online class. Oh, by the way, for the assignment, for those of you who take the class as a prerequisite, you don't worry to pass. Inshallah, everybody will pass. But you need to do assignment. The assignment is to write the research proposal consisting of chapter 1, 2, and 3. Chapter 1 is introduction, chapter 2 is literature review, chapter 3 is your research method. And that will be your proposal of your real thesis, whether at PhD or at master's level. And besides the assignment, as I told you before, you are also given individual project. In the individual project is writing an article of about 5 to 7 pages according to the formation or the format of the journal, format of any journal. And I will give you the format, and you will have to present at our conference. Let me see, I will share with you. We will have a conference. It's a free conference. I will share with you later. About the conference. The conference is online conference. You just need to send 5 to 7 pages of an article, and you need to convert the article into PowerPoint presentation, and you make a PowerPoint presentation using Zoom or Google Meet or whatever apps that you have, and send to us before the 5th of September. The deadline is the 5th of September. So inshallah, is still a long way to go. And then you'll have final exam in the 15th week. Today is, I think, our 4th week. Today is our 4th week. So we have about 10 more weeks to go. And then on the 15th week, there'll be a final exam, online final exam. The actual time is 3 hours, but I will give you 4 hours, extra 1 hour, in order for you to print the question. You need to print the question, answer the questions in your own handwriting, and scan and send to my email within 4 hours. For example, if you start at 10 in the morning, then I expect by 2 o'clock, I will check my email, and I expect all of your final exam answers are in my email. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, Mr. Hamza. Okay, so let's go on. What should the literature review do? Number one, a literature review should enable you to sharpen and focus your research questions, or even suggest new research questions. Some articles or some research, they give directions to new research. Literature review should also provide you with a wide and deep knowledge of the theoretical, empirical, and methodological issues within your research topic. Can you see the screen now? What should the literature review do? What is that?
Yes.
And then number three, literature review should also provide a bridge between your research questions and your research findings. It should enable you to speak with authority on your research topic and the wider subject area. By reading and reviewing the previous studies, you should have the knowledge to talk about what you are writing, and you can write with confidence and with authority, because you will cite certain authorities and certain studies. So when you write your thesis, remember there are certain statements that need to be cited. That means you need to write, you need to read the previous research. Okay? So by citing the previous studies, you have the authority, meaning you can justify whatever that you are doing. Method that you choose, population, sampling that you choose. And literature review also enables you to justify your findings. For example, the findings find that attitude has significant influence on compliance behavior. So you can compare your findings with the findings of the previous studies. For example, you say, this finding is supported by John, 1996, Alex, 1920, for example, by previous studies. So you can review previous studies. It doesn't matter when the research was done, but remember that you must also include the most recent findings. Recent means the last 5 years. So don't just review the old studies. You need to also include the most recent studies. So by doing literature review, it should enable you to compare your research methods with previous findings, your theoretical framework, and your findings with the previous studies. And it should enable you to set the scope and range of your research topic. So your research topic must be adapted and adopted based on the previous studies, meaning that your topic cannot be exactly the same as the previous studies. There is no point of doing research if the topic has been done. So your topic must at least have some significant difference. At PhD level, we call it a novelty. You are the first one to explore a new aspect in your topic. The new aspects could be a new methodology, could be a new finding, could be a new focus, etc., etc. Okay. So literature review is important because by doing literature review, you can link to your research questions. You can also link the literature review to research methods. By doing literature review, you'll be able to come up with your own methods and compare it with the methods used by previous studies. And this is very important that literature review help you to link with your theoretical framework because your theoretical framework cannot come from the air. Your theoretical framework must be based on some previous studies, and the inclusion of variables in your theoretical framework must be justified by the previous studies. You cannot say, oh, I include this as my IV because, oh, I like this IV. I think this IV is important. You cannot say like that. You must justify the inclusion of the variables in your framework using the previous study. Okay, I'm going very fast. So, linking questions to conceptual framework. This is very important when you want to write your thesis. You have your topic here, research topic, and you have theory, for example, theory A, theory B, and then from the theory, you come up with your own theoretical framework, and once you get your own solid, strong, justified theoretical framework, then you can form your research questions. Now, how many research questions you want to write? 3, 4, 5? There is no magic number. Most people have 3 questions. Some people have 4 research questions. Some people have 5. But research questions that you write must and should be based on the theory. Your theoretical framework is based on a couple of theoretical framework used by previous studies. So if you have a solid theoretical framework, then it's very much easier for you to write research questions. Don't write too many research questions. Don't write 20 research questions. You will not be able to finish on time. So write research questions that are manageable. For example, for PhD, maybe 5 research questions, maybe 6. For masters, maybe 3 research questions. So it must be manageable. Whatever research questions and research objectives you must answer in the findings. Your findings must answer your research questions and research objectives. And the methods that you use also must be suitable to the research questions and the research objectives. Okay, any question you may ask? Linking to your research findings, so the literature review can help you link to your research findings. Once you got the findings later on in the later stage of your research, then you can link your findings with the findings of the previous studies. So that's why literature review is very important. Whether your findings is supported or is not supported by the previous studies. If it is supported, then you might want to justify why it is supported. And if it is not supported, then your job is a lot harder. You have to think harder to justify why your findings is not supported, why your findings is different from the findings of the previous studies. Okay, now we are at the topic of types of literature review. There are 3 types of literature review: an evaluative review, and an exploratory review, and an instrumental review. Okay, I'll stop here for a while for any questions that you may have. Mr. Bala, any question?
No, sir.
Am I confusing you?
No. Okay, I'm following you.
Madam Fatin, Mr. Hamza, any question?
Yes.
Any question?
No, I'm following.
Okay,
I'm following.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Very good. So there are three types of review. Number 1 is evaluative review, focus on providing a discussion of literature in terms of its coverage and contribution to knowledge in a particular area. So this evaluative review is quite basic. It just tells the reader about the topic and the contribution of knowledge in that area. And the second type is exploratory review. This is to find out what actually exists in the academic literature in terms of theory, empirical evidence, and research methods. So this is just a exploratory review, and most people do this type of review. So they review previous studies based on the objective of the study and the empirical evidence. What are the findings of the previous study? And sometimes they also review the methods used by previous studies. So in this type of exploratory review, basically four components are reviewed. Number 1 is the objective of the study. Number 2, the method of the study. Number 3, the findings of the study. And number 4, the gap, if there is any gap exists in the topic. The gap refers to the direction of the study as proposed by the author. Some author, towards the end of the article, they propose the direction for future studies. So that is called the gap for research. And the last type is instrumental review. This is where the literature is used exclusively as a source of information on how to conduct some research on a highly specific research problem. It is not designed to identify the state of the current knowledge in an area, but to identify the best way to carry out a research project without reinventing the wheel and without incurring unnecessary and avoidable costs. So this is a very specific type of literature review, and it focuses on a very highly specific research problem. So for you, you can either mix exploratory and or instrumental review. Most students do the exploratory review where they just review the 4 aspects: the research objective, method, findings, and maybe some gaps. Okay. Some general points in doing the literature review. Now, these are the important points. When you review the literature, try to find out if there is any theoretical framework. If there is a theoretical framework, then what is the framework? And how does the framework fit into this topic? For example, you want to study on compliance behavior of income zakat, and the theoretical framework is called the theory of planned behavior, and then you want to find out whether the theory of planned behavior fit into the topic of compliance behavior of income zakat. So for your topic, it's very important that when you review the previous studies, you will find the theoretical framework used by previous studies so that you can adapt and adopt, and you can see how the theoretical framework might be used uh, and might be fit to be used in your topic. Then when you do the literature review, also find out if the work provide links to other work in the topic. So usually you look at the reference and see whether you can get access to the previous studies. Look at the reference and then try to get access to the reference used by the author. Is there an empirical aspect to the work? Some research, they are empirical in nature and some are conceptual. If so, what is its basis? So if there is empirical aspect, then is the evidence in the form of qualitative or quantitative? If quantitative, then how did they collect the data? What are the framework? How the data is collected? What's the population? What is the sampling? So, does the work relate to a specific social group? Does it relate to a particular place? Where was the work done? How applicable might be outside of the social group or outside of particular place? Can the framework, for example, be used in other contexts, other environment, and other place? How old is the work? If the work is old, it's still okay. You can still refer but don't forget to search for the most current one. And is it still valid? There are some frameworks which are no longer valid. Okay. So I think the rest is about obtaining literature sources. We talked about it a little bit. So you can find the sources of literature in Google Scholar, in e-library, and in certain websites. I think I shared with you the website in WhatsApp group, and I post to you again. Okay. This is searching the literature. When you want to search for literature, make sure your topic is very specific. You don't want to read something that is not related to your topic. So you must be very focused. Okay. If you can get hold of e-library, then it's easier. Later, I will share with you some of the websites and some of the e-libraries that you can use to get journal articles, research, and thesis. Okay. This is example of literature review. Okay, let me read to you one example of literature review. Cannot read. Okay, there has been much discussion. Okay, let me read an example of literature review. There's been much discussion over recent years on the likely impact of financial globalization on the financial services sector, specifically, and on the stability of national economies. This paper examines how and to what extent the threats from financial globalization manifest themselves in relation to the functions of regulation and supervision carried out by central banks. A theoretical perspective on these issues is put forward, followed by an analysis of the specific case of a small island economy which is embracing financial liberalization and competition. This is published in the International Journal of Financial Regulation and Compliance. So my question, is it good or bad literature review? So let's see this example of literature review version 1. This is an example of literature review. The development of global financial transactions has been a key feature of international economic activity since World War II and particularly since the 1970s. In the more recent years, total international bank lending has been expanding by approximately 8% per annum. However, the expansion in net international capital flows has not been without interruption. It has been clearly demonstrated that this process has followed a pronounced cyclical pattern. See Opswell and Taylor, 1997. Can you see or not? Can you read? A rapid expansion in the 1880s was followed by rapid decline 1890s, expansion 1910s, slow decline to the 1930s, expansion 1940s, and slow decline to the early 1960s. Since then, international capital flows have been subject to shorter cyclical fluctuations, but the long-term trend has been one of the steady expansion between 1917 and 1980, followed by rapid expansion since the early 1980s. A similar pattern can be observed in relation to a total foreign exchange market turnover, as would be expected. It's still long. So my question is it a good literature review or is it not a good literature review? Mr. Bala, is it a good literature review or is it not a good literature review?
I think it's not a good literature review because all 70s, 80s is not a recent years. After 2000,
Okay, good.
normally we go for within 5 years. That's the best.
Okay,
Alright.
okay. That's good. So yes, it's not a good literature review. One is because it's like an old story and not a recent trend. The recent trend has not been shown. And okay, what else? What else can you see from this review? Mr. Hamza, what do you think? Is it good or not?
I think it's not good, but my answer is the same as Mr. Bala's answer. It's about the oldness of the story.
Okay.
So that's what I've identified.
Okay, good. Good answer. Okay. So in order to evaluate whether the literature review or not, whether the literature review is good or is a bad literature review, here are the criteria. Here are the questions that you might want to ask yourself. Okay. By the way, the book here, I have the e-book and I posted in the WhatsApp group long time ago. Like I said, you might want to print the book so that it's easier to read. Mr. Hamza, you can. I will post again
Yes.
this book in WhatsApp group because I posted a long time ago. Okay, so this is a question you might want to ask yourself when you want to evaluate a literature review written by others. And you can also evaluate your own literature review. The first question is it clear which organization is responsible for the let me check. Sorry. So let me check again. Assessing the quality of literature review. This is how you check whether the literature review is good or not. Can you see the screen? Assessing the quality of literature. It's not easy to assess if a piece of published work is of high, medium, or low quality until you actually read and are able to compare it with other works that you have read. However, there are a number of tests you can use to give yourself. Can you mute? Can you mute first? Then you unmute if you have questions. There are a number of tests you can use to give yourself a much clearer idea of what represents good and bad literature review. When reading a piece of published work, whether academic academic journal, newspaper, textbook. You can ask yourself the following questions. Number one, is it clear which organization is responsible for the contents of the work? Number two, is there a way of verifying legitimacy of this organization? That is, if there is a phone number or postal address to contact for more information. Is there a statement that the content has official approval of the organization? Is there a statement giving the organization's name as copyright holder? Do you know who wrote the article and his or her qualifications for writing on this topic? Is it clear who is ultimately responsible for the content of the material? Are the sources for any factual information clearly listed? This is how you evaluate whether the article is good or not. Nowadays, it's very easy if it is published in journals of a Scopus status or ISI status. It is considered as a very good journal. That's not what I want to show. I want to show you how to evaluate the literature review. There are many versions of literature review shown in this textbook, and there is a commentary whether the literature review is good or not. Okay, you might want to read this chapter 4 on literature review. So there are many examples of literature review, and the author give comment whether the literature is good or not. So from that, you will learn how to write a good literature review. You have to know what a good literature review is and what a bad literature review is. Okay, I think okay. Next class, we want to. So these are how to evaluate the literature review, whether they are good or bad. Okay. Next, we want to. For next class, we will discuss the research design.
Research design.
Research design is on page, it's chapter 5. The first topic in research design is sampling. This is important, especially for quantitative research. So next class, same time, 3 o'clock, we will talk about population and sampling. Meanwhile, you can watch my channel, Dr. Yusuf TV. Okay, you feel free to like and subscribe. There are many videos, so you just focus on the videos on research method. Mr. Bala, have you seen my YouTube channel?
Yes, once.
Okay. So I will post my videos on research method. So I think I posted 2 videos, and the second one is not very good, and I will post many more videos on research method. In this channel, there are many videos. not only on research method, but on other subjects in Islamic finance, because I teach not only research method, but also other subjects in Islamic finance. Okay, I will stop the recording for now. That's all the class for today. I will stop the recording, and you may stay to ask any further questions. Okay, thank you very much.